Vietnam is a phrase I have heard before. We are live on Twitch at 2:30 a.m. in the morning, so let's go. I am hyped. I am very tired. But we are here. Audio is good. Let's make sure I'm actually spectating. And yes, you're seeing that right. That is the Yuppie. They want me to send an invite to Spin and Win. I think I do. But yes, we are here. It's round one. It's the real deal, so to say. I can see guys trickling in now. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. Austria is a very, very good track. We had a fantastic race here, tier 1 last season. I didn't watch I didn't race in Premier, and I didn't watch the tier 2 race. But tier 1 last season was amazing. I went from last by about 8 seconds to the front with a couple of safety cars, of course. But also I had pretty decent pace. But if that race is anything to go by, this can be a real classic. Hopefully it is, because, as I said, it's 2:35 a.m. I want something to commentate over. Oh, formation is off. Ghosting is off. On. Oh. Vinny put the wrong thing. Here we go. Of course, Austria, Midweek here is running set weather, which is different from the Sunday tiers, tier 1, tier 2, which run with random weather. But this means we know it's going to be dry. Because right now we see the first couple of people move out. That's an Alfa Romeo, that's Zings. Current weather, it's about 10% chance of rain in real life. So it's dry, even though it's autumn, which is fairly rare. But yes, I mentioned it a little bit before. This is the Yuppie. Raced with PRL many seasons ago. I think he even is. Yeah, he won Tier 2 Season 1, so that should tell you how much of a hero he is here at PRL. We welcome him back, of course. And hopefully he can enjoy the racing. He's a very, very clean, very, very fast driver, from what I can remember. So hopefully he can show that to the rest of the drivers today. Things going through turn 4 and now through turn 5. Through 6. It's a little bit wide, but not by a lot. Definitely not outrageously wide. Now to the last 2 corners. Looking solid, and here you want to be super close to the wall and basically almost invalidating with your inside tire. But a 107 flat, Aston Martin goes 1.5 seconds, 1.6 seconds faster, and disgruntled 106.0. That's an Aston, probably Vinny. Oh, never mind, it's Nico John. Let's go on board with Yuppie then, and we'll keep an eye on who comes up. That's Noob coming across the line for a 105.9. That's a Mercedes coming across to start their lap, and Vinny starting their lap. That's the Ferrari of Dr. J going P2, and Yuppie going P6 for now. And Gord Sauce putting it on provisional pole by 4/10, but Mr. Hex responds and puts a 104.8 up. Definitely a battle that shall not be missed. Of course, Mr. Hex is my teammate in Tier 1 this season, so I'm rooting a little bit extra for him. But of course, Gorsos, a very, very quick driver, showed it last season in Tier 1, being the fastest driver on outright pace, as Nico Don goes. P6 with a 105.888. Catching Vinny, going just behind his teammates, 105.891. A very, very solid lap. Bronco, another one of my rivals in Tier 1 last season. And we had a big fight in Brazil as well. Goes P3, 104.9. So not quite as quick as Mr. Hex and Gordsauce, but definitely still up there. Of course, this is one of the tracks you don't really need to be the fastest, you just need to be able to stick with the car ahead and be in the train, as Hoop puts it just ahead of Carson in P4. Rodri, the Honduran driver. It says purple, but I don't think it is. I have to say, the grid is pretty darn close for being a very mixed grid. You have Gordsauce, Hex, and Bronco being old school Premier tier. And, I mean, it's a second down from P2 to P8. That much. So I think it's gonna be a pretty good race. Rodri coming through the final corner. What can they set up just behind their teammate? 105.5 is their first time. Polani is coming in. There's a Red Bull of Carson improving to 104.9. Carson showing that they are not to be laughed at. Now spot up. Of course, had a win in Tier 1 last season. Won race 1 of Season 8 in Tier 1. Oh, good morning, Bass. What are you doing up? I did not expect to see you here in the comments, in the live chat. I should be, yeah, fair. So should I really, but here I am doing comms, watching a lot of North Americans go around a circle for 60 seconds at a time. Spot up, coming across the line is not gonna be as quick as they would have hoped. 106.5 for the American. Yuppie is improving by a lot. I know. Yuppie setting a 105.7 and goes P9 with that. Showing some of that pace we know he possesses. It sure is. It sure is. Luckily we have this great escape called F123 and Performance Racing League, where we can just be ourselves. Spot up has gone again, and there we go. That's more like it. 104.5 for the American, putting the Canadian Gord's horse down into P2. But Audrey has been here for quite a while. Fair enough. But yeah, they were here in the preseason and did pretty well. That race is not on the PRL channel, that would be on my channel actually. Due to the admins changing the password and not telling the commentators in time, which, I mean, yeah, fair. There's a lot to keep an eye on. This beautiful Alfa Romeo is making its way around the track. Yeah, except this time I've been told it's a chi, so yeah, and sinks into the pits. Vinny, purple in the middle sector. Yeah, I know where they are. Don't you worry, Bess. I have my eyes on them. And Vinny, 105.2 puts a P7 in the Aston Martin. Definitely not a bad lap. Oh, and that's a bit wide from Gord's horse. Ooh, and that Haas, not in a great place. But Gord's was sending it without any hesitation through the penultimate, and now through the no, they abort and go straight into the pits. No, it does not. As far as I'm aware, it does not count towards the combined standings. and it's due to, for example, Gorsos racing for Mercedes here as Polani goes P12. But yeah, Gorsos is racing for Mercedes here. If I said McLaren, I'm sorry. But racing for Alpha Tauri on Sundays. I'm rooting for Nico anyways. Yeah, I mean, it's he's a fan favorite, of course. Been here for ages. Not just life in general, I meant PRL. But yeah, it's been around for ages, so definitely a fan favorite, of course. Nico John currently P13 with a 105.8. Seems to be saving a set of tires. A set of fresh softs can always be useful at the end. Ramsey wishing everyone good luck and to have fun, and I can only agree. I want to see a 103. I doubt we're going to see a 103. I think we're going to see a very low 104, but not a 103. And Vanna goes P16 with a 106.0. Disgruntled, I think, is the next one to... Actually, no, never mind. It might be Canuck. No, it's Rodri. Bath. A wild Ramsey has appeared. The reason I'm reading out the chats as well is because when I watch the streams back, it's very annoying hearing the commentator answer or like a question or something from the chat and not mentioning what it is, as Rodri goes back up to P8 with a 105.3 this time. 104.251 pole. That's a big call if it is. I think it's gonna be a 104.1 something. I think Gorsos has it in him to put it on, put it down to a 104.1. Only 3 minutes to go, so we'll soon find out. So we can see a lot of people being out on track. It's going to be very, very crowded. I would personally be more comfortable with something like Disgruntled, what Disgruntled has been doing, be out a little bit earlier. Hoop is very, very quick. I've gone P3 with a 104.7. 2000s ahead of Bronco actually. Carson as well has impressed. That's the word I'm looking for. English is hard at almost 3 a.m. But yeah, Carson has impressed me a lot. Currently P6, not far behind Mr. Hex, for example. And that's on 2 runs on the same tires, I think. And 104.377 provisional pole for Carson. Hex goes P3, 104.6. Spot up. Well, someone had to do the comps, so that's why I'm not racing. Spot up is not pushing. Vinny is pushing. And also, like, I'm a little bit scared racing at it this time because you're very tired at this time. It's I don't remember what it's called, but the pilots call it something like this is the point where the body is the most tired, so your reflexes are at the slowest point, for example, and stuff like that. So that's why I'm a little bit scared racing as well. 5:30. Yeah, fair enough. Vinny, allegedly purple through sector 2. As Spinawin joins right at the end. Can definitely... Oh! As Vinny stays on track and does improve to P7. And Yuppie has made contact with Palani. So Yuppie is currently starting P18. Canuck retires because he's spin and win. Has now joined up. Sounds like a skill issue. I mean, it is a little bit of a skill issue. But also science and stuff. Carson, I honestly don't really know. But it's a very nice lap and they are very, very quick. Gortzos is pushing, is purple through sector 1 though. Can they stop the Carson party? Muppet has apparently left. Oh, and that's not gonna help. Yuppie is an instant favorite. Yeah, like I said, Yuppie, I don't know if you've been here long enough. I can't remember if you were here when I was. But oh, Carson 290. So we're closing in on that 251. Oh, and that's a big snap from Gord. Gord can't improve enough. 1:04.306. Hoop. But yeah, Yuppie was here when I joined PRL. I was dominating tier 1. I'm not dominating, but it was definitely up there. And Hoop goes P5 with a 1:04.663, but that is qualifying. Yeah, Ramsey, take care. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you on track next week. But it is American on pole, it's Canadian P2, and it's American P3, with Carson, Gortzos and Spot Up taking the first 3 spots. Mr. Hex ripping Mexico in P4. We have Hoop in P5. We have Bronco and Vinny, P6, P7. Nico John splitting the Canadian quartet with the Guatemala flag, I think it is, in P8. Dr. J in 9th, Canuck in 10th, Rodri P11, Disgruntled in 12th. A lot of Americans 13th through 16th, Dutch and Sinks in 17th and 18th. And yeah, that was a very, very impressive prediction. Very, very close. Couldn't quite get it right, of course. But at least you got the temp right. I didn't. And I apologize because it's gonna sound horrible, but it's ice and I need to get moisture down my throat. Again, I apologize. I just realized I can mute in the menu, but well, it wouldn't be midweek here if it wasn't a little bit shithousery. Bass, don't take anything. Wait, I just needed water down my throat because it's getting a little bit dry from speaking. He's just sending me a lot of emojis that is looking at me with questioning. Moisture is wild. I mean, it doesn't sound much better if I say wetness. Moisture is definitely better than wetness. Any tips for China? You can run more downforce than you think. Well, at least you could in the old games. But yeah, it's definitely a track where a lot of different setups can be used. Oh, and the inside line for turn 1 is actually not that good. The outside line, if you can keep it side by side with the car, and you are on the outside, that's better because you have the inside for turn 3. The straight though, yeah, but DRS, slipstream, ERS, and you will have the same pace. Don't you worry. It's like Vegas. You can definitely run a lot higher wings than you think in Vegas. Like you can probably run like almost 20 something wings, definitely high teens, and be still competitive. But here we go. 5 red lights. Lights are out and away we go. Carson gets a decent start and has kept P1 in through turn 1. Looking at sinks now to see, and it looks like most of them got through very, very cleanly through turn 1. Let's put up position changes so we can see what's going on. Yuppie is making moves left, right and center up to P10 already. It's only been 3 corners and already, and here we go. There is the yellow flags we expected. Noob and Dr. J, I think, have been together. And there's an end plate missing on that spin and win car. Canuck has left the session, which is not very good. Yuppie has made up 9 places in 9 turns. It's gonna be 10 turns, but do I have Northern Canuck on invites and requests? I'm gonna just check quickly if I have. I do. Mr. Hex is quite close to spot up. Oh, and Disgruntled has left the session. Let's then check what are the strategies. Hex on the hards, Nico John on the hards, Rodri on the hards, Palani, Dr. J and Noob also on the hards. The rest are on mediums. Spin and Win has left the session but hasn't retired. Quite interesting with the different strategies here. No one has gone for softs, which I'm a little bit surprised by. But also not a lot of people on the hards, as Carson is actually starting to pull away a little bit, but now Gorsos is gonna be able to use DRS to get right back up. And we can see Rodri and Canuck swapping places. Canuck I will get Northern Canuck another new invite. Because Northern Canuck started to fall back a little bit. Hopefully he can return soon enough. Oh, Hoop with a big snap, but also a big save. And Rodri right on the back of Yuppie. Yuppie on the mediums, Rodri on the hards. Which makes it even more impressive. And are we gonna see a move into turn 1? I don't really think so. They are staying with them. Battle for the lead though. Gordzos tried it around the outside. But he's gonna get a better run. And down into turn 4. Selects outside routes. Keeps it around the outside. Good space given from Carson as well. But Gordzos is gonna take the lead after getting the inside for turn number 6. And the Mercedes is now in front, but the Red Bull is right behind them. It's definitely giving 2021 vibes. Gordzos and Carson. Mercedes versus Red Bull. Gordzos is quite used to fighting with the Red Bulls, of course. And now up the inside goes Carson. Gets given the space, but of course the outside is a little bit better for traction. And Carson can't quite get the move done out of turn 3, but into turn 4. Now through 5, Carson on the inside and makes the move back up into P1. Yuppie is now behind Rodri as well. Rodri is showing some really good pace right now. Palani in the other Williams, right behind the Haas of Vano. Right on the back. And Mr. Hex has actually joined up with the top 3. With the top 2. Making a top 3. As we see Rodri on the timetable move up to P7 past Hoop as well. Some serious pace in that Alpha Tauri right now. Actually, that's probably a little bit because it's a ghost car. Oh, and of course, as soon as I move off, Palani makes the move up to P11. Because of course. But as we can see, when we hop on with the leaders, it's now 3 drivers in this train. Carson leading that train before Gordzos, and Mr. Hex in 3rd with a little bit of a shaky rear end. Cannot join up yet. They have. Let's go. And that's Dr. J spin that has spun on Gordzos. Tries to cut back a little bit, but doesn't succeed with it. Dr. J has lost to P16 now. Gordzos looking for the outside move. Can they keep it? Not quite as far alongside, but they get very good traction, very good run. It's gonna be on the inside for turn 6 once again, but has to give the space and can't quite get it done. Through turn 7, Carson keeps the position for now, and now Mr. Hex is looking at Gordzos, but decides to stick behind for now. Just looking through the interval to see if there are any close battles, but this is the closest battle for now. We will, of course, for example, hop on No, can I? That's actually a ghost car. So let's go back up to Gord, who's going down the inside into turn 3. Who gets the better exit though? I think that's on Carson actually, and of course Carson will get DRS. And Gorsos is actually back down into P2, into turn 4. Can Yappi do anything on Rodri into turn 4? No, not quite. And this little battle here for P10 is also one to keep an eye on. But again, Gorsos very close to the back of Carson in that Red Bull. Gorsos staying super close to Carson. Oh, and a little bit of contact there, I think, but Gorsos clean past into turn 3. And Carson gets a pretty bad exit. So does Mr. Hex though. And I think, as I accidentally swapped down, I think Gorsos is gonna keep that. So we'll swap on to this battle for P7. Yuppie on the back of Rodri. Looks to the inside for turn 4. Rodri gives good space, but is still ahead. Canuck has lost P10 to Palani. And Vano has lost contact with these two. And Palani and Northern Canuck are actually side by side through turn 6 and 7. You can see Mr. Hex is struggling a little bit still to stay with Carson and Gordsauce, and of course Gordsauce has put up a little bit of pace now. I think he's a little bit quicker. As we now see Northern Canuck get a very good exit out of 1 through turn 2. Not really a turn in these Formula 1 cars, as Palani brakes very, very late. Gets it stopped though. Keeps it on track and up to P10 the Williams car goes. But Northern Canuck, even with the RS, couldn't quite get close enough to think about the move. So we get a lovely helicopter shot of Northern Canuck chasing Palani. I wasn't fast enough. Oh, and that's Ferrari Dr. J again. Spinnerwind struggling with connection. I'm actually gonna send him an invite as well. Might as well. Spinnerwind. There you go. Just in case. And I went the wrong way, but spot up into turn 4. Goes up to P4. Past Bronco in that Ferrari. So the American moving past the Canadian. This is very much a battle of the North American countries with a little bit of spice mixed in. And Canuck picks up a 3-second time penalty. Time penalties here are quite common because it's very, very easy to track extend. But of course, you shouldn't feel bad because the real F1 drivers can't do it either. So, I mean, we can't really expect us to stay on track as Carson gets very close to Gorsos. Mr. X has dropped back a little bit, Those hards not quite giving him the pace just yet. But those mediums should drop off quite soon. Should reach the 25. Do I? I don't think I have hoop, but I'll quickly check. I don't. Yeah, that's a big age, so I don't have them, unfortunately. Carson's still trying to apply pressure to Gordsos as we move down. As Noob picks up a 3-second time penalty as well, we will, of course, as I usually do when I commentate, move on to penalties a little bit later down the line. As Palani looked to the inside, but you don't want to make the move too early because, of course, you'll be sat on this straight with a bad exit and no DRS to help you. So it's better to be patient. Palani looked for it, but couldn't quite get it done. Yeah, Mr. Hex is dropping back big time right now. Of course, the DRS is helping these two right now. As we take a little bit of a screenshot and cheeky screenshot. You know, it looks. These helicopter shots looks very nice. So, and there's always a thumbnail potential as we see Gordsos have a big snap, and Carson will have seen that, of course, and will probably be thinking something along the lines of, oh, and now Carson has a very bad exit. I actually have done the exact same thing, except I ended up on the grass. So Carson with a good save. Looks to the outside, now to the switchback. Can't quite get it done, but will have DRS to help him. Had a better exit than Gordsos. Looks to the inside for turn 4. Gordsos and Carson with two different ideologies on how to overtake into turn 4. And Carson moving up to P1 for now. Spot Up and Bronco have been at it for a while now. Bronco is back in front, so it's Canada on top in this little battle. Of course, Carson leading the big battle for America. Mr. Hicks still around that 3-second mark. Spot Up, it looked like he was looking to the inside. Let's go as we have pit stops, Yoppy and Vinny. The first to bite onto hards as we see Carson and Gordsos going side by side. Gordsos tucking in behind. Northern Canuck gets past Palani as well. That's on the straight down into turn 4. as Noob also goes into the pits for a set of medium tires. Bronco into the pits. Bronco getting the undercut on Spot Up. But if Spot Up can have a good in-lap, or in-laps, depending on what happens, will definitely have fresher tires, of course, but can also be ahead. Let's go on board with Vinny, because Vinny has definitely not been showed that much, so let's give them some airtime. As we see Gordsource take the lead, because Carson has gone in for what I assume is a set of hards. It is. Hards on for Carson. Gordsource, I assume this is going to be the in-lap. Because you don't want to get undercutted that bad. Of course, Mr. Hex, currently on the hards, will soon, as we are halfway through this race, hop on to the mediums. I assume it's going to do 1 or 2 more laps, just to really get the most of those mediums, as Carson is catching up to Rodri. Rodri, of course, hasn't stopped. None of the cars either Carson has. So Carson is still in a net P1. That can all change though with a safety car. But Carson was getting help, of course, with getting towed. And Gordsource has actually carried on. Gordsource has carried on. We can see that on the minimap going through turn 1 now. So Gordsource is carrying on, and that is... I wonder if it's the right decision. I honestly don't think so. As Carson moves up into P5, which is of course still net P1. So we have, I was gonna say the Battle of the Ghosts, but neither is. Dr. J and Noob, come on, give me a good camera angle. Well, let's do this then. Dr. J with a very good exit. But the switchback from Noob. But Dr. J comes back. Once again. Noob around the outside, and yeah, I think Dr. J backed off. And Mr. Hex comes in for a set of mediums. That's actually coming ahead of both Gordsource and Spot Up, who's going very long. Maybe praying for a safety car, because of course if the safety car comes in, at least Gordsource is coming out in P1. I wonder if Spot Up is coming out in P2. I don't think so. Actually, never mind, it definitely isn't, because it's only, what, 5 seconds ahead of Carson. Nico going currently P3. Doing a pretty good job. As you see, Mr. Hex down the inside of Bronco. No fight from Bronco. No, it's not his race, as we saw a Alfa Romeo obliged to blue flags, so we won't have a blue flag song from Sebastian Vettel. Gordsource is in and is on soft tires. 15 laps. It's gonna be stretch for these softs. Softs are decent around here, but 15 laps really? Definitely gonna be quick, but I mean, for how long? That is the question. Really want to pull away from Mr. Hex right now, but Mr. Hex has DRS. Bronco and Rodri getting a lovely slipstream. Rodri of course hasn't stuff yet. Neither has Spot Up. Guess he's spinning win in the box. I just come out on 18 lap old. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. As we see Rodri going into the pits and Bronco having to go a long way around as Mr. Hex puts up the fastest lap of the race. Now you need to stick with Gordzos. That is the tough part. So we see Vinny. I think the Haas is coming in to make a stop. They are. You can see exit of turn 3. It pulls away, but then Mr. Hex comes back with the straight line speed. But now it's gonna be traction for a few corners and also grip. And that is where... Oh! You can't do that though, Gordzos. You definitely can't do that if you want to pull away. Gordzos with a big mistake, and that is gonna help Mr. Hex stay with Gordzos for another lap at least. But now, Gordzos might actually get slipstream. Actually, not slipstream, but get DRS. I mean, it has done. Because left cars and Spot Up is... and also Carson is right ahead. And now we're seeing a lot more strategy. Gordzos stays behind, and then after the DRS point sends it. But Mr. Hex does not need a second invitation to go for a move. We know that much. Oh, and that's a very late move from Carson. Cutting off Gordzos, and that has given Mr. Hex the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. Gordzos is probably not going to be very happy about that one. It wasn't very nice. I don't think it was intentional or malicious. I honestly just think he didn't quite know how close everyone was, because both Hex and Gordzos was closing in at a rate of knots. But I think picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's not good. But yeah, for future reference, for anyone listening, of course, wanting tips, the best thing to do when you see a lot of arrows coming in towards you, keep your lane. Even if you want to make a defensive move, if you're unsure where they are, keep your lane. Or use your mirrors, look behind, or use the arrows as references. But of course, it can be very tricky. As we have this battle continuing on from before, Rodri versus Yuppie. The tire situation has changed though. Rodri on mediums, Yuppie on hards, Yuppie also on older tires by quite a few laps. So Yuppie might not be able to keep up with Rodri. Right now Carson is actually doing a very good job. If you're watching the stream, you can see the ERS levels. I don't want to say them out loud in case the drivers are listening, but you could see them. Spot Up picks up the fastest lap of the race. Of course, box for softs not too long ago will be very, very quick for a few laps. Gorsos is well and truly stuck behind that Red Bull. Yeah, can't really get by Carson. Not being that affected by dirty air, just the hards aren't that good. But also because of the distance, they don't have to worry about anything when braking, so they can brake as late as possible and get the long toe. And of course, Hex without DRS is gonna give a little bit of a better slipstream because the wing is pushing that air up, of course. Just gonna take a look on P10 and P11, Northern Canuck versus Palani. Both with penalties now, so it is a straight battle. Of course, we'll look at the penalties in a little bit. We can also see Gorsos is closer than before. Can they make a move into turn 1? I don't think so. Looked for it, but yeah, decides better of it. Turn 1 is very tricky to make the move in because of the curb on the inside. If they flatten that out, so you could almost cut turn 1, and turn 1 could be a very good overtaking opportunity because you can go inside or you could then go outside. But right now it's very tricky. As Gorsos round the outside, fake the inside. Maybe he was looking for it. Oh, and gets a snap and taps Carson. Now has the inside of turn 6, but can't make it work. And Carson, on those hards, defends P2. Of course, has a penalty, so I mean that's not gonna be very fun. But of course, Gorsos may pick up one. Gorsos is in the dirty air and is continuously getting a DRS, so it can be tricky to spot your braking points and stay on track once again. Actually, never mind, because I've done it in a bad position. Oh, and that's a tap from Gorsos. Hopefully the front wing is okay. I think it will be. But of course, can't really go for the move. And now it's actually a 3-way fight. Vinny has been caught up with from Palani and Canuck. And Palani pushing, down the inside it goes, and up into P9, but only for a little bit as it goes off track. And then it was not super pretty, and now it's a very big scrap for P9. Did Vinny get damage is the question, because it looked like something fell off someone. Maybe not. So we have a big battle for P9. Vinny, of course, without a penalty. We'll have that advantage. We'll go back up to the fight for P1 though, where Mr. Hex is flashing. Someone is at a spin. Is that Yuppie? No. And Mr. Hex picks up 3 seconds. Mr. Hex has picked up 3 seconds, and now Gordsauce is in a position where if he doesn't pick up penalties, he can win this by just staying in his position. And of course, those swords are gonna go off. So this helps him immensely by... And now he's able to back off. But of course, also for Carson, it gives him more of a motivation to go for the move. Are we gonna see 3 wide on the exit of turn 3? No. Mr. Hicks with a good exit. And some seriously good straight line speed. Carson tries the outside. Can't really do it. On board with Gordsauce now, just to see what happens. Noob has retired, that's in the pits. I'm sure everyone is as curious as I am. I'm just gonna look at it, I'm not gonna say it. Okay, now we know. We are also gonna go... Oh, lovely. The Alfa Romeo of Noob has actually rejoined the track, because of course it does. Now some seriously good straight line speed. Outside again for Gordsauce. Can't quite get there. Carson with some very good defending. Now through turn 5 though, the inside line is going to turn to the outside, of course. Not really where you want to be. Through turn 6. Can't quite get it done. And Mr. Hex has been able to pull a little bit of a gap. But of course, if I'm Mr. Hex, I don't want to pull away from Carson. I want to keep him within a second. Because with the DRS, Gordsauce is going to have a harder time overtaking. Whereas if Mr. Hex gets 1.1 seconds clear, you're going to have the problem of the fact that Carson doesn't get DRS. He gets a long range slipstream, but it doesn't get the DRS, which is what's keeping him P2 for now. But of course, Gordsauce not having to push as much, just staying with them is enough. We can see the penalties right now on the left hand side as Dr. J... Oh, never mind. I don't know what's going on back there, to be honest. But yeah, unfortunately, I think it's just gonna be a case of these 3 going in this order to the end. And actually, of course, Carson wants to pick up P2 because it is what they are battling for, because Bronco is 13 seconds back. So it might be a bit of a... Oh! I don't really know what happened there, but it looked like a bit of contact between Carson and Mr. Hex. We can see Vinny is just within that 1 second. Palani is within that 1 second of Hoop. So that battle, Hoop, who just picked up a 3 second, by the way. So that might be a battle to keep an eye on. But of course, we have to keep an eye on this lead group as we enter lap 34 out of 36. Only 3 laps to go. And this is the last lap for a safety car to come out to do anything. So if there is no safety car here, we're not gonna see a safety car. not getting good enough exits to really challenge if he wants it on track. But there's no point, because why would he want to risk getting a penalty by overtaking when he can just sit behind? Meanwhile, battle for P11, Hoop versus Palani. Palani not quite close enough for the move into 3. Can he get a good exit and think about it into 4? No, not quite. Dutch own Vano though. Hards versus softs. How long have Vano been on those softs? That is a good question, as we can see. Carson and Mr. Hex is not done quite yet. Carson round the outside. Mr. Hex with a good defensive squeeze. Inside line for Carson. It's going to turn to the outside, of course. And he's behind for another lap. But last lap is approaching. We can see the ERS levels for the 3 cars in the top 3. Meanwhile, Spot Up and Bronco battling, and Spot Up taking P4 as we begin the final lap of the race. Mr. Hex is flashing the front or the back 2 in this train, and now Carson moves to the outside. Well, actually inside for turn 2, but outside for turn 3, but it's passed way before the turn. Can Mr. Hex do anything into turn 4? They're both flashing. Hex tried to look for the outside, but Carson with a good defensive squeeze. And Mr. Hex with a little bit of a snap as well. Looks to the inside, but can't quite get it done into 6 through turn 7 and 8. Mr. Hex with a good exit, but so has Carson. Looks to the inside a little bit, but of course doesn't want to go for it and goes off the track a little bit. Carson is going to pick up P1 on track, but it is Gortzos who wins in Austria. Spot Up versus Bronco. Bronco looks to have it done. Spot Up sends it through the final corner, but can't quite get the run, and it is Bronco who picks up P4. Nico John comes home and picks up a solid P6. Rodri picks up P7. Yappi, in his return to PRL, is gonna pick up P8 on track, and after penalty also P8. Northern Canuck comes home in P9 on track, but Vinny takes it, and the battle for P11 is won by Hoop in the end, who comes home in P11. Vano versus Dutch. Dutch, of course, with a 3-second time penalty, won't do anything, and that is your Austrian Grand Prix. Gortzos wins. So, as we said, Gortzos wins ahead of Carson and Mr. Hex. Mr. Hex couldn't quite get Carson back on track and will therefore be P3. Bronco picks up a very solid P4. Spot Up P5 and the fastest lap. You should not mess with that because that point might be important come the end of the season. Nico John gets a solid P6. Yeah, not much to say. Rodri picks up a P7 ahead of Yappi. In his return, picks up a P8. Very, very solid result for him. Vinny and Northern, the two Canadians, rounding off the top 10. Hoop gets P11 in the end, and Palani. Vano picks up P13, Dutch P14, Dr. J 15th, Sync 0 P16, and I don't really know what happened here, but Spin and Win, Noob and Disgruntled all DNF'd, although I saw them on track forever, so I don't really know. Yeah, that is it from Austria. Yeah, don't forget to follow the Twitch channel, and don't forget to check out the YouTube where the VODs will be posted. Next time out, we're joined for the Canadian Grand Prix in midweek. But on Sunday, you have Tier 1 and Tier 2 racing in China. So come with us on the 12th of November. Christ almighty. But yeah, until next time, you will be joined by me again in Tier 2, not in Tier 1, as I'm of course racing. But until we meet again, take care everyone, and have a good rest of your day. I am gonna go to sleep because it's very late. Stay safe everyone, and a goodbye from me.